Hello there from Granada in Nicaragua. Granada is a really attractive Spanish colonial city on the shores of Lake Nicaragua, which is the largest lake in Central America, roughly the same size as Lake Titicaca in South America. Historically, probably the main claim to fame that Granada has is that of all the Hispanic founded cities in Latin America on the mainland, Grenada has been continuously inhabited in the same location longer than anywhere else. Now, there are a couple of qualifications in that in terms of the Spanish founded cities in the islands, such as Cuba, Hispaniola, and Puerto Rico, before they got to the mainland. And some of the cities home to the mainland, like Veracruz, were founded before Grenada but moved location subsequently. But in terms of a continuous inhabitation in the same location on the mainland, Grenada is pretty much number one. So when it was formed in 1524 by Captain Hernandez de Cordova, Grenada began a journey which actually took it through some pretty dramatic events. And probably the most notable of those concerns a political opportunist, adventurer, pirate, whatever you want to call him, from the United States called William Walker. Now, Walker was born in Nashville, Tennessee, and he nursed a desire to annex large parts of Latin America and reorder them as part of a white supremacist, English-speaking, privately owned dominion that would be affiliated with the Confederacy in the United States. Now, despite the rather fantastical and grandiose nature of this ambition, Walker came somewhat close to actually pulling it off. His initial attempts in Baja California and Mexico were not successful, but in 1855 he came here with 56 heavily armed men at the behest of the Liberal Party here, joined up with about another 170, and soon crushed the Liberals' arch rivals, the Conservatives. And then decided that he wasn't going to go home, which was quite an unfortunate shock to the Liberals that had hired him. Instead, in the following year, Walker declared himself president of Nicaragua and declared that English was the native language and that slavery would be reintroduced, and began to develop ties with the Confederate States in the United States. Now, Walker made one really big blunder in this enterprise, which, had it succeeded, would have significantly reshaped the history of this region, and that was that he appropriated financial interests belonging to Cornelius Vanderbilt. And this mega tycoon didn't take too kindly to that, and thus financed a coordinated series of actions by a range of Central American states, led by Costa Rica, to confront Walker. And in the spot behind me, the convent San Francisco, was Walker's garrison here in Grenada. And when the Allies were going to overcome Walker, and it became clear that that was going to happen, Walker left orders for his men to burn the city to the ground, and they promptly did that. And in the spirit of vandalism with which they conducted it, they left a sign saying Grenada was here. However, Grenada managed to get through that and survive, and is still continuously inhabited to this day with many very attractive colonial buildings and churches. And its legacy continues in a living form, which is more than we said for Walker, who 4 years later was captured by the British, handed over to the Honduran authorities, and promptly executed. So, this place, among its various varied cultural and historic stories, includes a particularly dramatic tale, but it's mainly today a place it's one of the main tourist attractions in Nicaragua, a jumping off point for doing quite a lot of ecotourism, exploring volcanoes and lakes in the area and the small little islands. And it's a really nice place to visit, but it's also, as I said, symbolic of a pretty dramatic history, and one that's worth checking out.